Well, still feeling a little under the weather. That little cold or thing, whenever I was talking about my throat. It's not really there anymore. When I swallow or whatever, I don't feel that little, you know, discomfort in the back of the throat. But I'm blowing my nose quite a bit today. It's just clear, but you can hear me stopped up a little bit. Got my tissues on standby with me, and if you see any little fuzz balls under my nose here, getting caught on my little mustache prickles, disregard. Don't even bother commenting. Okay. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Catherine Austin Fitts. She has done a few videos, interviews, where she says, the Pentagon, especially the Pentagon, there's this missing 21 or 22 trillion dollars. It's just missing, and it's basically they do accounting adjustments in all their books within the Pentagon, and all of a sudden there's an additional 22 trillion dollars that's unaccounted for. Nobody knows where it went, how it came about, anything. This might be the first time I've ever seen a mainstream site talk about this. Now, this says it's from Bloomberg, although MSN.com is the one that's reporting on this, by Tony Capaccio. This is very interesting because we first heard 21 or 22 trillion. The number's a lot higher, and it's just for 2019. The Pentagon, the title is Pentagon Racks Up $35 trillion in accounting changes in a year. How the hell can you do that by a simple book entry? What this basically means is they're cooking the books. Something that is highly illegal for anybody to do. But our government does it as if it's just completely normal and completely lawful for them somehow. The Pentagon made $35 trillion in accounting adjustments last year alone. A total that's larger than the U.S. economy, the entire economy. And underscores the Defense Department's continuing difficulty in balancing its books. I've got a question, though. I understand, it's an accounting entry. But where's the money coming from? Like, I can make an accounting entry in my, business books to make it look like one thing or another. But at the end of the day, if I'm spending more money than I'm reporting somehow, that money has to come in for me to spend it. And, bills come in, invoices, I got to pay them, which the Pentagon does. So where is that money coming in? Oh, well, we passed the largest 1.4 trillion dollar budget last year. Yeah, okay. Correct. Largest ever. But it's only 1.3 or 4 trillion. Not 35 trillion in last year alone. And if that's the budget we passed basically for this year, 2020, what's the cooking of the books going to look like for 2020? Again, where's the money come from? If the Federal Reserve, if it's not official, we don't know, the Fed's balance sheet, it's up 4.5, 5, it's back to $5 trillion. Okay, again, that's 5 trillion. This is 35 trillion in adjustments. The latest estimate is up from 30.7 trillion in 2018 and 29 trillion in 2017. The first year adjustments were tracked in a concerted way, according to Pentagon figures and a lawmaker who's pursued the accounting morass. So it sounds like the number's just getting higher. So it wasn't like a brand new fresh 35 trillion. It looks like, oh yeah, we have some from last year, the year before that, the year before that, and it just keeps getting higher. Kind of like our national deficit. 10 trillion, 12 trillion, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 trillion, 23 trillion, where the hell we are right now. Not that really matters too awfully much. It's still trillions. Tens of trillions. We're talking here. So again, 2017 was 29 trillion. 2018 was 30.7. So that's another 1.7 trillion on top of that. And all of a sudden now we're at 35. So 30.7, let's just say it's 31. Add another 2, 32, 33. Just for fun, like as if we were trying to say, oh, it's going to be roughly the same every year. No. Not quite. It's up a lot more. 35. It's up, 35. So it's not going up 1.7 a year. This year it went up almost, well, I guess 3 point something 4 trillion. Anyways, again, it's incredible numbers. Doesn't really matter about my little nitpicking of the exact decimal point. The figure dwarfs the $738 billion defense-related funding in the latest U.S. budget, a spending plan that includes the most expensive weapons systems in the world, including the F-35 jet, as well as a new aircraft carrier, or many new aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines. Joe, why are you emphasizing that at the end? To let you know it's plural. Not one or two, Within that $30 trillion is a lot of double, triple, and quadruple counting of the same money as it got moved between accounts, said Todd Harrison, a Pentagon budget expert with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The Defense Department acknowledged that it failed its first ever audit in 2018. And then again last year, when it reviewed $2.7 trillion in assets and $2.6 trillion in liabilities. While auditors found no evidence of fraud in the review of finances that Congress required, they flagged a laundry list of problems, including accounting adjustments. Related video. Pentagon confirms U.S. injuries in Iran strike. CBS News. Oh, no, not related. Although it gets scant public attention compared with airstrikes, troop deployments, sexual assault statistics, or major weapons programs, the reliability of the Pentagon's financial statement is an indication of how effectively the military manages its resources, considering that it receives over half of all discretionary domestic spending. The military services make adjustments, some automatic and some manual, on a monthly and quarterly basis, and those actions are consolidated by the Pentagon's primary finance and accounting service and submitted to the Treasury. There were 546,433 adjustments, 500,000, in fiscal 2017, and 562,000+ in 2018, according to figures provided by Representative Jackie Speer, who asked the Government Accountability Office to investigate. The watchdog agency will release a report on this subject Wednesday, which that's today as I'm doing this, I guess, after reviewing more than 200,000 fourth quarter 2018 adjustments totaling $15 trillion. Subtitle: Sloppy Record Keeping. The combined errors, shorthand, and sloppy record keeping by DoD accountants do add up to a number nearly 1.5 times the size of the U.S. economy, said Speer, a California Democrat. The report shows the Pentagon employs accounting adjustments like a contractor paints over mold. Their priority is making the situation look manageable, not solving the underlying problem, she said. Mark Easton, the Defense Department's Deputy Chief Financial Officer, wrote the GAO that in response to its audit, the department, quote, is actively developing strategies, end quote, to reduce accounting adjustments. Pentagon spokesman Christopher Sherwood said that annually, DoD has hundreds of billions of dollars of financial activity, and accounting adjustments are sometimes used to record activity in our financial reporting systems due to a lack of system capabilities or interfaces. Let's see, let me just swallow, not that nasty stuff in my throat, but that what I just read. Let me swallow that a little bit. The year 2020, this was last year, 2019. We've had computers for decades and decades. IRS can track every single thing you do, come up with a list, and say, hey, you didn't report that $5 you made there in that lemonade stand. But one of the most, if not the most important government agencies, the DoD, Pentagon, let me read that again, sometimes used to record activity in our financial reporting systems due to a lack of system capabilities or interfaces. We don't have the right interfaces. You guys don't have access to programmers who could create the interface you need to record stuff. It's an effing simple database management system. Well, that's our response anyways, because if you keep looking, you're going to find out we're full of shit. Full of it. And you're going to realize something huge is wrong. And it ain't got nothing to do with capabilities or interfaces. But that's our excuse to just get you to stop poking around if we can help it. Many of these older systems were designed without consideration for current financial accounting standards, Sherwood said. What's most important to an auditor is whether the adjustments are properly supported, because properly supported adjustments ensure financial statement values are accurate. We have made significant progress in reducing the number and dollar value of unsupported adjustments by over 30% and 70% respectively, he said. As an example of how the dollar figures multiply, Sherwood said recognizing $800 million due a contractor in previously unrecorded payments requires multiple accounting adjustments that net to $0 but could total over $5 billion in movement between accounts. Documentation lacking, subsection. The GAO estimated, based on a sample, that at least 96% of 181,947 automatic adjustments made in the fourth quarter for fiscal 2018, quote, didn't have adequate supporting documentation. So they took a sample, 181,947. 96% of it is horse crap. Did not have adequate supporting documentation. Where'd the money go? Where'd you spend it on? I don't know. I'm going to ask you guys a question. You know, this whole thing, Donald Trump, drain the swamp, deep state, back channel funding goes out to the NGOs, aid to this country, funnels back into the Democrat and the deep state. Do you think, I'm just asking out loud, do you think that maybe the DOD/Pentagon has some swamp creatures in there that have been there for a very long time and have found ways to cook the books to keep the black budget money system, deep state running system going? Is it possible that might, maybe some of this is that? 96% of the sample we took didn't have adequate supporting documentation. I wonder if the IRS, I'll file nothing this year. I made no money at all, zero. And I wonder if the IRS won't even bother me. And if they do bother me, I'm going to tell them, I don't have the supporting documentation. You know what they'll tell me? Well, good. You owe us this amount, since you can't prove you don't. You're going to pay it or we're going to seize stuff from you. And what do I do about it? Nothing. Cry the blues. I'll tell everybody on YouTube what you did to me. I'll stand out with a sign in front of the IRS building while people come with guns and take my house and everything and kick me out of it. But if the Department of Defense and or any government agency does that, what happens? Anyone going to repossess the Pentagon? Nope. Anyone going to repossess the money given to the contractors? Nope. No, what we're going to do is we're just going to keep on keeping on. Like Joe Dirt said, you got to keep on keeping on. Just keep cooking the books. 29 trillion one year, 30.7 next year, 35 trillion next year. Keep going, man. Price line negotiator. Oh, that's some serious negotiating. Quote, in layman's terms, this means that the DoD made adjustments to accounting records without having documentation to support the need or amount for the adjustment, said Dwayne Allen, spokeswoman for the Pentagon's Inspector General. The size and scope of unsupported adjustments is deeply concerning because it tells a story of poor internal controls and lack of financial data integrity. While the Defense Department couldn't adequately support all accounting adjustments, that does not mean they were inaccurate or erroneous, said Allen. Because the DoD could not provide the support, the auditors could not draw conclusions regarding the adjustment. Since we don't have the documentations, you can't draw any conclusions. So IRS, if you come bother me, just because I can't prove to you that I did or didn't make any money, doesn't mean that I did make the money. You may have documents that you think I made, but I don't have any supporting documents, so you don't know. Do you see how absurd this is? And for the first time, maybe ever, a mainstream site is covering this. Now, it does say Bloomberg on the very top, but it says Pentagon, title, and it does go to MSN, MSN.com. So, Catherine Austin Fitz. Sounds like she was definitely on to something. I mean, I already knew that, but when you start hearing it come from the mainstream, now all of a sudden that little person, well, who's she? Does she work at the DOD? She worked at the Pentagon? How does she know? Oh. Mainstream media's picking up on it now. Oh. The end-all, be-all of almighty knowledge. The mainstream media. Not some dork in his closet doing YouTube videos. Me. That's me. Oh, but we've been saying this. We've been reporting on it. But you're nobody. You're not an authoritative source. That's why you don't show up in anything when people search for you in Google or YouTube. Only CNN, Washington Compost, MSNBC. Oh, that's not what I want to know. I was just searching for vaccine injuries. I don't want to see your crap. I want to see other people's YouTube videos. You know, maybe some personal stories. Nope. You're not allowed to see that. Why vaccines are safe. Why everyone should take a vaccine. MSN. Why you should get your vaccine shot. CNN. Nah. I'd rather take the alternative information. Thanks.